Greetings, beloved. It's Brian Antonio here, and I am trying for the first time ever this screen record. It's kind of a rough practice, but I thought while I'm doing it, I might as well try and tell some story. I was a kid from a poor, rough area. I actually love the people and the community I come from. A lot of us are raised with trauma. And the people where I come from just didn't know how to nurture, just didn't know how to be sensitive. And like most of our culture, kind of punished and shamed us out of all the things we needed to be creative and appreciate beauty, especially as a young boy. But I was lucky to have a great aunt, Aunt Jo, and she was a administrative assistant, a secretary back then, for a stock and bond company, although she was very, very, I wouldn't even say middle class, working class. She was single and had no kids. And she lived with her mother, who she helped care for. And before I even understood or knew what was going on, she took me to Walt Disney World for my 6th birthday, 1976. And man, the Bicentennial was going on, the river country was new, Space Mountain was new. We stayed at the Royal Plaza, and we flew. Most people from my neighborhood didn't ever fly, and I got to fly, so I wanted to be a pilot. And we went to Kennedy Space Center, and of course this was the mid-'70s, so of course I wanted to be an astronaut. But not yet did I realize what my true life's biggest dream would be. But after Aunt Jo took me several times, and then eventually my little sisters too, to Disney World and Disneyland especially, I fell in love with. I knew I wanted to be an Imagineer. And I used to sit in class. I still remember in 4th grade, I would draw maps of Disneyland from memory. I remembered where every tree was, within the pathways, where the bathrooms were, where the shops were, what the show buildings looked like, what the water features were like. Somewhere around, I think it was age 9, I designed a primeval land from like the railroad primeval diorama in Disneyland. I designed a whole land because I wanted to be an Imagineer. And my Aunt Jo, who at the time had access, I used to get to read the stock report, the annual report from Disney every year, because she worked for stocks and bonds, and she mailed off my drawings and plans to Wet Imagineering back then, and it came back a couple months later in an envelope with my sealed envelope inside of it, with a letter saying we're legally not allowed to look at any suggestions, because if we would ever design something and it looked like we took your idea, it wouldn't work, whatever. But I never really got to read the letter for a long time, because my mom intercepted it in the mail, and very much, as probably almost all parents in my neighborhood did, yelled and screamed and threatened me and beat me, and told me she was going to have my dad beat me because that was, she's going to beat my Aunt Jo. She said she didn't mean that, but for encouraging me, because of course poor kids from poor neighborhoods should not have those kinds of dreams and do that kind of stuff way above our station. So I'll be honest, it kind of put me off. I mean, I still dreamed of being an Imagineer. I kind of shifted in my brain to being an architect. I knew that to be an architect was one pathway to being an Imagineer. And then in my high school, we had just the worst teacher for geometry, and I hated math anyway. And I was an honor student, and so I never could understand in geometry how they did those proofs. And all got the same steps in the middle to the same together, much less came up with the same conclusion. For me, I was always confused and lost in geometry. And so I thought I could never be an Imagineer. And I never thought I could be an architect. And then when I was a senior in high school, my dad had left when I was 10, my mom had left. when I was a senior, and so I was staying with relatives and finishing high school, and I was a great student with really good grades and extreme potential. I was just extremely good at school, at creativity. My high school said be a Renaissance person and be good at a lot of things, and I did. I was very lucky to just have great grade school teachers and some good high school teachers who encouraged me. But the know nothing, don't make me do my job counselor told me there's no way I would get into any schools. And I ended up applying for some really cool positions. I was big in theater and did get accepted into some really cool schools. And even with some scholarships, I had no parents at the time and no money. So there was no way even for me to go to the in-town school that I wanted to go to, St. Louis University, which that guidance counselor even told me I was no way I could go there, even though when I eventually saved up for a year and applied, I got scholarships, dean scholarships and things like that. My grandma also told me, who do you think you are trying to go to college? So you get what I'm saying. I bring all that up because theme parks were like one of the few treatments to trauma. They were one of the few places where I could experience beauty without worrying about when things were going to go dark and dangerous and violent and scary. They were the only place where I could ask for what I wanted and not be swatted or slapped or verbally degraded. And again, I'm not blaming the people who raised me. I had tons of incredible experiences and tons of love in my childhood, but people just did not know how to react to somebody like me where I was from. But theme parks were safe places. And things got rougher and rougher for me, and I pretty much had to put theme parks out of my mind. And miraculously, God, years later, when I was about 30, I was in a relationship, and we both had decent jobs, and so we could afford to travel. And my ex thought I was nuts when I was planning our first trip to Disney World because it was expensive. And I knew my ex couldn't possibly figure it out yet, but I made sure that we were staying at All-Star Music. We didn't have loads of money, and I didn't want to use the buses because I had to take mass transit every day to and from work, and so I wanted to rent a car, and then we had dinner the first night. We arrived in mid-afternoon, and just in time for the fireworks, we had a reservation at California Grill overlooking Magic Kingdom for the fireworks with the music piped in. That's all it took for my ex to get it, to fall in love with Disney like I did. The next couple trips we took, my ex did tons of research, and we really did have we had great travel several times in our relationship, 6 years, I think, but definitely great Disney trips. And then, things got hard again, and my ex and I broke up, and I just went back to survival and living in all my traumas and poverty, and things were pretty rough again. But I have to say I was moved here to the border and was starting to get things in place when COVID came. And of course, none of us knew that was going to last that long. And over time, more and more and more, my money kept getting thinner and thinner. I didn't qualify for the unemployment benefits. I didn't have any job benefits. I was really struggling, and it got real hard. But I did have the ability for my 50th birthday to go to Walt Disney World, and my dearest cousin, who's closest in age to me, and we've been friends all our life, she agreed to go with me, and we had an incredible experience. And so ever since then, I have decided that I don't even really want to be an Imagineer, because the way that big corporations like Disney operate nowadays is, the same kind of toxicity I used to use the parks to avoid. So what have I done? I started creating my own theme parks, and it's just a little way to soothe my brain on a day like today. And so I'm going to share sometimes some of those. I have a few, but I have one that for years now I've kind of been evolving and exploring, and I feel like it's getting to a real good place. And so if I didn't bore you or scare you off with this story, hopefully in the next video you'll come and see just some of my crude drawings as I evolve my newest theme park that I've been working on for several years. Thanks for listening.